The president's, as he said today, his position has not changed. What you're watching in real time is peace through strength and America first. Our job is to be strong. We are postured defensively in the region to be strong in pursuit of a peace deal. And we certainly hope that's what happens here. And America first means we're going to defend American personnel and American interests.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth telling Fox News last night.
What did that mean?
Peace through strength or strength.
And America first. It's like a couple bumper stickers. He could have just held up bumper stickers. I don't understand what that means.
Yeah.
Israel. Wait. We talking about Israel's peace through?
Yeah.
Jonathan Lemire, I'm confused. What was that? Is that like peace through strength? Is he talking about Israel? Was that an Israeli? Should that been in Hebrew, peace through strength? America first? Israel, Netanyahu bombing Iran? I'm deeply confused. What was that?
Well, that was the Secretary of Defense.
What's he trying to say here? Can you interpret this for me? I'm a simple caveman lawyer who stays up too late watching the Red Sox pitch shutouts and things such as this. But go ahead.
Yeah, maybe Secretary. We don't know his baseball allegiance. We need to figure that out. That was the Secretary of Defense speaking a lot of platitudes without a lot of meaning behind it. But it was part of an effort by the White House to combat some information last night. Rumors swirling as President Trump cut short his stay at the G7 in Canada, rushing back to the White House. Reports out of Israel that the U.S. was actively engaging and being involved in the war, perhaps even attacking Iran. The White House very quickly put out a bunch of statements saying that's not true, that's not true. And Hegseth went on Fox News to say that, and it wasn't clear what else he meant.
So let's explain this too. There may actually be even more to this politically for domestic politics, MAGA politics, more than anything else. Tucker Carlson going on Steve Bannon's show yesterday and again saying that Donald Trump going along with Netanyahu could not only destroy the American empire, but also destroy his presidency. We've heard other people, other Fox News commentators, and others out there in the right-wing MAGA sort of media sphere talking about this civil war that's coming domestically inside, saying that Donald Trump's going to destroy his presidency. So is that what he's saying? Donald Trump supporting Israel is really America first, and that's why people need to just, people on the MAGA base need to go along with this?
Yeah, that's the subtext here. There's been a real divide, particularly in the last couple of days, and it really exploded yesterday, as you said. So almost a civil war within the MAGA movement. There's the Tucker Carlson wing that is saying, don't be involved in Iran. When Donald Trump first ran for office 10 years ago yesterday, he pledged to not be involved in these forever wars, no more Middle East entanglements and the like. America first, much more of an isolationist view. Then there's the other side of this. Mark Levine, Charlie, and some of the Rupert Murdoch and others members of that wing who say, no, now's the time where Iran is weak. The U.S. should be involved, if not directly, but at least support Israel's efforts. And there is a schism here, and President Trump, well aware of this schism. He, in fact, called Tucker Carlson kooky last night in a social media post after Carlson called him complicit in what we're seeing in Iran right now. And I am told by people close to the president, he's mindful of trying to satisfy both bases, and that's why we're getting a little bit of a waffling as to he's not quite sure how to navigate this very fast-moving situation in the Middle East.
Well, you can go back to 1979, Mika, of course, something your father was greatly aware of. When Ayatollah Khomeini took over Iran, you actually had the rise of a terrorist state, and the first Islamist state, but a terrorist state that exported terrorism across the Middle East and across the globe. It's been the epicenter of terrorism since 1979. There have been conservatives out there, traditional conservatives. There have been people, like Mark Levin, who was before being a Trump conservative, a Reagan conservative. And for so many conservatives, Iran has been the epicenter of terror. And the feeling in those quarters that we are this close to seeing Israel actually finish off this radical regime that has exported terrorism across the globe now for almost 50 years. They don't want to hear other people inside the MAGA base saying, let Israel off the hook. Or let Iran off the hook. So it is going to be a fascinating ideological battle on the MAGA right.
Well, there's more news that happened overnight to get to. Also with us this morning, New York Times opinion columnist David French and columnist and associate editor for the Washington Post, David Ignatius, is with us as well.
I'm just curious, David French, you are also part of the expat conservative community like me. We are conservatives living in a strange land where that like, what is being called conservative now, Ronald Reagan would not have recognized. Hell, people 10 years ago wouldn't have recognized. I'm curious your thoughts on this civil war inside the MAGA world about the Tucker Carlson side, the isolationist side, the so-called America First side versus those who, since 1979, have seen Iran as the epicenter of terrorism on the globe, believing that if you can take down the Islamic State in Iran, or if you can stand back and watch Israel do it, that's not a bad thing. I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, this conflict was inevitable from the moment that Donald Trump was sworn in. I mean, you had Israel was already engaged in active warfare at that time. Those attacks were changing the reality on the ground, rendering Iran far more vulnerable to an attack than it's been in a long time. The opportunity was there for Israel. I think it was only a matter of time, no matter who won the election, before Israel was going to take advantage of this opportunity to hit Iran, to hit Iran's nuclear facilities. And then Donald Trump was going to have to make some choices he didn't want to make, because he had convinced one set of Americans that he was going to be Israel's best ally. He had convinced another set of Americans that he was going to be totally turning the page on American foreign policy in a way that no other president had. And these things are not reconcilable. These are not reconcilable ideas. And I think what he's hoping is that Israel can finish the job with Iran so that he doesn't even have to make the decision. But it's very unclear whether Israel can finish the job, especially with the deeply buried nuclear sites, without American help. And what happens if he leaves Israel hanging with the job almost done, not completely done militarily? And so he's going to, right now, I'm sure he's hoping that Israel can resolve this for him. But it looks like he's going to have some tough choices to make, and one part of his coalition is just not going to like the outcome.
Well, and I would say David Ignatius will confirm this. I'm sure you're not going to get rid of the nuclear program. You're not going to get rid of the nuclear site without American weapons, with American bunker busting bombs, as they say. David, I won't get you in the middle of this MAGA civil war. I will ask you a question that a lot of people have to be thinking, because you and I remember November of 1979, remember the Iranian hostage crisis, remember Ayatollah Khomeini coming to power and suddenly creating all of these, are supporting Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, being this perceived power, massive power in the Middle East that the Saudis and all of our Sunni Arab allies feared. I'm curious. Was a foreign policy community surprised at just how weak Iran ended up being when we got the news months ago that their air defenses were completely stripped, that Israel could attack at will? Because I would guess most Americans, after hearing about this frightful Iranian regime, revolutionary regime, would never have seen this coming, where Iran right now is basically at the will of what Israel decides it's going to do, strike after strike after strike.
Joe, we get to this moment where Israel has what seems unchallenged dominance over Iran's skies, the ability to bomb almost any target in Iran that it wants. Through this enormously difficult period since October 7, 2023, in which Israel initially was just battered and traumatized and then began rolling back the Iranian-backed proxies in Lebanon, in Gaza. In Syria was another process, but the same thing happened. And then beginning to really move in on Iran in October, took out Iranian air defenses around Tehran to a large extent. And at the time,
David, are you surprised by how easy that was? Are you surprised that this supposed superpower in the Middle East that for good reasons had been feared for decades, had its air defenses so easily wiped out, that Hamas leaders were so easily targeted in Iran while visiting Iran and assassinated, that their proxies were wiped out as easily as they were wiped out. I mean, this is Israel from a distance has made this look rather easy.
Joe, it's been tactically brilliant. I keep being astonished by each stage of this. I think a lot of it is the quality of Israeli intelligence. They seem to know just where people are going to be in Tehran. When they struck early Friday in the beginning of this latest round, they knew the locations of every senior commander and went in with munitions. In most cases, it seems to have been drones that the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence service, had smuggled into Iran and took those people out in their apartments, in their homes. Bing, bing, one after another. The same kind of precision intelligence has been seen in other parts of the campaign leading up to where we are now. I think that the dilemma that Israel has, and the United States as its friend and ally has, is for all of Israel's tactical brilliance, the strategic side. How does this end up? What's the end state of this conflict? Has always been a weaker part of their operations. And that's what we're asking now as we look at Iran. How does this end? Does this end with an Israeli attack with U.S. munitions on the last major facility in their nuclear complex, Fordo? 3 others have already been hit decisively. But this last one is remaining as crucial. Do we end with an attempt to topple the regime of the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and have regime change in Iran with all the uncertainty that portends? Those are questions are possible because of Israel's overwhelming military dominance in the air right now. And I think that's part of the dilemma for the administration. Do they want to stop that process before it culminates? Do they think that making an 11th hour deal with Iran really is in the United States' long-term interest? There's a lot of American blood on Iranian hands as well as Israeli.
So David.